Hey, everybody, good Thursday to you here on Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Glad you are with us here today. As you can see, we are ready to go. And Barry, once again, on the road, and I believe still in
Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Harrisonburg, Virginia.
Yes.
Yes.
Last night, the Trojans had a late lead, 61-60 in the final 30 seconds. Couldn't hold it. James Madison wins it 64-61. The Trojans still in second place, but now sharing it with a couple of teams. Today, right after we get off of the live show, I am on a bus headed to Oxford, Ohio, where the Trojans will play in the Sunbelt MAC Challenge on Saturday at noon against the Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio, and then back to Troy, and then back on the road again next week. It never ends.
What I had heard of most, not all, but most places in this country. Harrisonburg, Virginia is one I had never heard of, and there's a lot of Oxfords in this country, but Oxford, Ohio is another one. Not familiar with it.
I'd never been to Harrisonburg until this trip. I've been to Oxford once before. I did call one basketball game before. I cannot remember what the deal was with Miami of Ohio. They haven't always been called the Red Hawks. Back when Roethlisberger was the quarterback at Miami of Ohio, I want to say they were something else, probably like the Indians or something like that, and you can't have that. So, looking forward to getting there and getting a win. Trojans had a 4-game winning streak come by the boards. Don't look now, but this Arkansas team that comes to Tuscaloosa on Saturday.
No, actually, they go to Fayetteville, I believe.
That's right.
I
misspoke. Yeah, that will host Alabama on Saturday is getting hot. Had to win over Kentucky last weekend. They go to Texas and beat the Longhorns by 8. Arkansas on a little bit of a roll.
Yeah.
Playing at home. Alabama's going to be a favorite in that game, but boy, it would have been a whole lot better for the psyche if Arkansas had been, losing the past couple by 12 instead of.
Texas is one of those teams we've been talking about over the last couple of days. They kind of they're streaky. They had a couple of good wins and some bad losses and kind of streaky. I think there's a couple of teams in this league that are kind of like that, but losing at home by 8, it happens. We saw Ole Miss beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa, but you're right. I mean, it seems like Arkansas's kind of caught their stride a little bit, feeling a little confident, and got the Tide coming in on Saturday. And I don't know, it's a pressure time in my mind. I mean, you got College game day coming to Tuscaloosa next week. And
that right? All right.
That's what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
They're
coming. Yeah. I don't know if it's been confirmed, but I'm hearing some rumblings. You got, an in-state rival coming in. Maybe in basketball, this is their biggest game. I don't know. I know in football that it's not the case, but you got a big in-state game coming in, however you want to label it. But if you drop one of the next or both of them, I mean, does it take a little win? I mean, to me, there's pressure on Alabama to, keep winning and, come into this game. We don't want to look ahead. I know it's a week away, but you don't want to come in leaking oil. But some people would say, maybe a loss would be good to kind of, hit the reset button to get really focused on the number one team in the country. I don't know. I don't know how to play this. I've looked at it from both angles.
John is always in his career consistent on everything. His take one day is the same thing as going to be 20 years from now. John has always been, and I am too, against the concept of a good loss. That loss was good for them. You can learn a lot from a loss. One of my favorite quotes ever in the world of sports is, you don't want to waste a defeat. And that was from Nick Saban. You can learn a lot from losing.
Yeah.
You can learn a lot from winning, too. And while you're learning, also winning. So I never have loved the concept of a good loss, but I know what you're saying. Well, at least this is not what he's saying. This is what John is hypothesizing. Could it be? I don't want to play it yet. There's probably some value in that. Couple of geographical questions. John Dent says, Barry, what other prominent Virginia city is close to where you are right now? All I can tell you about Harrisonburg, it's on the edge of the Shenandoah Mountains. It is right exactly smack dab in the middle of Virginia. I mean, if you put the state of Virginia right here on top of this pen, and you put it would balance on Harrisonburg, Virginia. I guess it's less than an hour away from Charlottesville, where the University of Virginia is, where I've broadcast a football game there before. I haven't been to Virginia much in my life, but so yeah, it's right smack in the middle of the state, near Charlottesville. That's about it. It's not around a whole lot else. Also, my buddy Jason Jones says, I got to know why Miami of Ohio is in Oxford, Ohio, rather than Miami, Ohio. However, I'm not going to take the effort to look it up.
That's like Jason, I like that. That's a great way to look at it. I'm the same way. I mean, I don't understand that either, but I ain't looking it up.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
Barry, if you want to tell me, I'll listen. But if you don't know or don't want to tell me and everything, and I guess I'll just not know. I'm not going to look it up. My Oxford, Ohio.
Look, I will say this, Jason. Just don't get your Bowling Greens mixed up.
Yeah,
you don't want to do that.
God. Yeah. Have we ever told that story here on this medium before, where John and I? This is many years ago. Goodness knows what in the world David Elson is doing these days. But I do know this: at one time, he was the head football coach of Western Kentucky University, which at that point was playing a football game the upcoming week against the University of Alabama. And we had him on the air. And, of course, Western Kentucky University is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. They used to be in the Sun Belt, so I've been there a bunch. And John asked Mr. Elson, Coach Elson, if it was difficult to share the limelight with Bowling Green State University. And David says, come on, guys, do your homework. Bowling Green.
I don't know if he said guys, plural. I think he was pointing that directly at me.
he said, Bowling Green, Western Kentucky's in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Bowling Green State University's in Bowling Green, Ohio. And I said, Coach, it's very important for you that you know that I knew that Bowling Green, Ohio, Bowling Green State was in Ohio, and that Western Kentucky was in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And later on, John said, hey, if you wanted me to know where he was, he'd have a better football team. If they were any good, I'd know where they were.
I know exactly where they were.
It's on him.
There wouldn't be any doubt. It wasn't my fault. But yeah, I remember that. Yeah. But things like in a 30+ year career, you're gonna have days like that. Every now and then. You gotta fluff them off, move on.
That's right. Don't never waste a defeat. And now John knows. But Jason,
who was that NASCAR driver? I said, "What's it like living in El Cajon?"
Yeah, that was great. Guy? John and I were on a remote at a golf course, I think. And they asked
the Rainbow Warrior. Wasn't that Jeff Gordon?
No, it was Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson.
The race car driver, Jimmy Johnson,
Warrior.
Not the Cowboys.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson.
It's El Cajon. And to be honest, the only reason why I even knew how to pronounce El Cajon, which is near San Diego, is because Fred Sanford said it one time in Sanford and Son. So also he used to say La Jolla a lot, which is in California. Yeah. But to answer Jason's question, they're not going to call it Oxford University. They call it Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, because it's on the banks of the Miami River in Ohio. Okay. So that's why you have it. That's why you call that. So now that the geography lesson is over, we can move forward.
And speaking of La Jolla, it is a very pretty area outside of San Diego. I've actually been there. It's beautiful. El Cajon, I don't think I've been there. I can't say I've ever been.
Somebody's asked me before, is there a White Warrior River? Is there, speaking of geography, how big is the Black Warrior River? Has John ever
Well,
tubed the black? Is it one of those like Itchituckney in Gainesville where you can tube it and you can almost touch either side of it? And
it seemed the Black Warrior seems to be, there in Tuscaloosa, it seems to be just about as wide as the Alabama River is here in Montgomery.
okay.
Maybe not as wide, but close. Barry, and all the time I've spent in Tuscaloosa, I don't ever think I've dipped my toe in the Black Warrior River.
Never brought a little cooler of Bud Light out there, stuck it in the middle of a small inner tube, and
I just
tied it to your raft and just down.
In River Road, obviously, is right there next to it. I've been on River Road many, many times, looked at the river, but I don't think I've ever dipped my toe in the Black Warrior. And I need to know maybe where it starts and where it ends. I'm not sure how long of a river the Black Warrior is, but it's there. You're right. Speaking of geography, glad you brought that up. This has been bugging me for a while. When people live in this part of the country and say as we're talking about California, maybe going to California, they say, I'm heading out west, going out west for a couple of days. If you live in California and you're going to New York, what do you call that? Are you going out east?
Heading east. I don't know.
Heading east?
Yeah.
Because I've heard people say, man, I'm heading out west tomorrow. Oh, where are you going? Well, I'm heading out to Oregon. Oh, okay. And I thought, well, people that live in Oregon, if they're going to South Carolina, what do they say? Heading out east.
Back east.
What are those things to chew on? I just thought about that. It hit me the other day, and I thought, I'm going to get to the origin of that and find out what you would actually say. Maybe Kirk, who spent a lot of time out west in L.A. around UCLA, maybe he's got an answer for that.
Yes.
All right, we got a lot going on today. We got a big lineup of guests as we normally do on Thursday. Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover at the bottom of this hour. We'll get updates on the Tigers. Of course, Barry, yesterday was National Signing Day. I'm not sure how big of a deal it was. I haven't read or heard a lot about it. I think most of the hay is in the barn, so to speak. But we'll get some information from Jason. Also, basketball as the Tigers get ready for a big weekend game as well. Also, the TiderInsider, Rodney Orr, sponsored by the Destin Connection Seafood Market at the top of the next hour. And our resident college basketball insider, Bart Hyche, brought to you by our friends at Riverbank and Trust, will join us at the bottom of hour number 2. And also, Barry, when we return from our first break, a new feature here on the program that we're going to make a daily feature. It was requested that we do this. And so we will, debut that. We'll kind of debut it. It actually debuted on another one of our mediums yesterday after our live broadcast, but we'll explain when we return.
Oh, I like that. It's a tease. We're underway. Yeah. It's the Thursday show. Maybe, just maybe, a little bit of Super Bowl conversation. It's happening. And other news around the NFL. There's a couple of tidbits I've got on my list today as well. He's John Longshore. He is at Network Control. I am in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Book tee time sooner. Save on every round. That's what you get with the 2025 RTJ Trail Card. Destination Golf is closer than you might think. Buy a 2025 Trail Card and save every time you play. Plus, you will be automatically entered into the Trails Loyalty Program. Enjoy 10-day advance reservation privileges at each location. 11-day advanced internet tee times on rtjgolf.com and the RTJ app. Enjoy the benefits of a 2025 Trail Card. It makes for a great stocking stuffer, and you save on every round you play in 2025 on the Robert Trent Jones Golf Trail.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game. not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Don't miss your chance to win big at Victoryland Casino. Play the latest, hottest, most exciting games around with fun bonuses and big jackpots. Don't miss out on your free play. Stop by Player Rewards today and check out this month's exciting free play promotions. Come see why our players keep coming back. You'll have more fun at Victoryland Casino, where you can be a winner too. Victoryland Casino, located off I-85 exit 22, Shorter, Alabama. Must be 21 or older.
Okay, here we are back at it. Glad you are with us here today on this Thursday. Hey, before we move on, Barry, the SEC men's basketball tournament is a little more than a month away, just a couple of days shy of a month away up in Nashville. And, of course, it's going to be an exciting time in Nashville because there's so many teams in the SEC that are really, really good. We've been talking about it. Some of these bracketologists think the league could have as many as 13 teams in the NCAA tournament. Wow. That'll make the SEC tournament really exciting, and you can be there because our friends at Total Sports Travel have you taken care of. The SEC tournament in Nashville, hotel accommodations at the Omni Hotel. We stayed there a couple of years ago for SEC Media Days. It is a fabulous location. It's one block from Bridgestone Arena, so you're within walking distance. Very, very convenient. So they got your accommodations there in Nashville. If you need ticket booklets, they got those for you as well. Check it all out at TotalSportsTravel.com. That's TotalSportsTravel.com. They've got packages available. Heck, any school, every school, you name it, they can hook you up there in Nashville. Or you can dial 877-389-3750. That's 877-389-3750. Or go to TotalSportsTravel.com and get your SEC men's basketball tournament package reserved today. Okay.
This is, the tournament is, again, if you want to get there for Wednesday, the first round games, which is March the 12th, they can take care of that. If you want to go Wednesday, your team gets hot and goes all the way to Sunday, believe me, if you're doing that, if you're staying for 5 days, maybe 6, I plead with you in the name of all humanity and your sanity, don't try to make those arrangements yourself.
No.
Just don't. 5 days when, that they'll want a minimum, that, but you don't know ahead of time, and let them handle it for you, please. Yeah. Thank me later, but do not try to say, oh, I can book all that myself. Maybe I can save a little money, no. Let them do it.
Avoid the headache.
Treat yourself. Enjoy the basketball. And not have to sit there and every day go down to the front desk. Hey, can I have another day? No, John, no.
You don't want that headache. When you're traveling,
please.
Yeah. All you want to do is go cheer your team on to victory. You don't have to deal with all that stuff. Total Sports Travel handles it all. If you can tell time and know which direction to go, that's really all you need. Take your shaker, put on your gear, your team gear, and they handle the rest.
Your face, go crazy, but don't do that. Don't do that.
TotalSportsTravel.com. Yes. All right, so here is a new feature that was suggested, recommended. What do you think? I said, yeah, I like it. It's a good idea. Because obviously, Barry, there's some people out there that like this Phantom guy. They seem to like him.
What's interesting to me. There are a lot of people who like the Phantom who just like to watch and listen. There are people who don't necessarily do anything with his opinions, which they're all purely for entertainment purposes only.
Oh, sure.
There are people who live, obviously, in a state outside of Alabama who take the Phantom's information, immediately place a phone call or whatever. But there are a lot of people who just, hey, man, did you see what the Phantom said today about that game? They just like it. There's a lot who like it just because they kind of like the presentation of the Phantom. So
and maybe, get a little kick out of, hey, how did the Phantom do? I'd just be interested to see. Now, hopefully
there's a lot of them who get a bigger kick out of it when the Phantom does terribly than when he does
do.
really well.
Yeah.
You know,
The Phantom seems to hear more from that side than the winning
anything
side.
else.
Yeah, you drop one, the Phantom seems to hear more about it. Or there's more needling of the Phantom, which is not nice. It's like fooling Mother Nature. But hopefully, and we're confident one day you're going to be able to wager legally here in this great state. I know there are efforts right now to make that happen. And I don't know what we're waiting on. I don't know why people are sitting on their hands.
Let's cut him off right here before he goes off on another tangent. You know, this new feature that we've got.
Yes.
Because this is 15 minutes right here where he could riff and we do. Oh, yeah, by the way, about what we originally been.
Yeah.
Whew,
so
you don't want to get him started.
Somebody said, hey, how about the Phantom giving us a pick every day? I said, okay, what do you got in mind? Well, just a Phantom release every day. And I kind of thought about it a little bit. And I said, well, it's not going to be a premium selection.
Right.
I'll give you a daily pick, but I'll let you know when it's a premium. Say like, tomorrow we might talk about a game on Sunday that possibly could be a premium selection. You never know.
Understand.
But it's like it's the Phantom's daily pick. I said, okay, I hear what you're saying. All right, I got it. Sounds good. We'll just make it a quick little feature every day on the show. Shouldn't take more than about 30 seconds at the most to go over what the Phantom's daily selection will be. Now, obviously, this could involve college basketball, the NBA, Major League Baseball in the summer. You never know what it could be.
Well, never mind. Yep.
Could be women's basketball, could be NASCAR, could be golf. I mean, you never know. I mean, there is a smorgasbord of opportunities to make a pick on, but we're just not going to throw darts at a wall and just say and hope it hits. I mean, we actually are going to do a little research and do a little something that gives us an edge, and we believe gives us an edge. Well, we did it yesterday. We actually released it on social media. I know it was on X yesterday. It was released on X, and we'll do that every day. We'll do it live on the show, and then it'll be released on X and Instagram and all the other social media platforms. But yesterday, Barry, we had TCU hosting West Virginia. Horned Frogs laying 1.5, covered comfortably, won it by 5. So got out of the gate with a win yesterday on the Phantoms daily play. So quickly today, we're going to the NBA. A game at 9 o'clock tonight out west.
Right.
We're going out west.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go to the marquee game that everybody's probably looking at. Golden State at the LA Lakers. Nope.
You're not
going with that one.
All right.
Okay. No, even though it's on TNT tonight, second part of a doubleheader.
Yeah.
We're taking the Sacramento Kings catching 1.5 at the Portland Trailblazers tonight. Game tips at 9 p.m. That is the Phantoms play of the day. And there you have it.
This is great. This is good. If the Phantom opens the on-air segment with Kings and Trailblazers,
how about that?
That just gives you an idea of, hey, man, everything's up for grabs in the Phantom pick of the day. I like it a lot.
This isn't a TV opinion, which back in the old days, you gave an opinion about a game that was actually on TV. Now every game's on TV, but I think this game you got to have NBA League Pass or something to watch this one. So if you didn't
yeah,
I don't think it's on TNT or anything tonight.
Yeah,
as a matter of
it's
fact,
on NBC Sacramento.
I thought, when's the last time the Sacramento Kings have been on TNT? But hey, we're looking for wins. We're not looking for glory like the Lakers and the Warriors. We're looking for W's. There you have it. Kings tonight at Portland.
There you go.
1.5. That's our daily play.
All right. There you go.
Hey, we're 1-0 out of the gate. Had TCU last night, so we're on a little streak.
All right. The NBA kind of stealing the thunder, pardon the pun, a little bit from Super Bowl week. They've had a ton of big trades in the NBA. One of John's favorite players, Brandon Ingram, got traded from the Pels to the Raptors.
Ugh.
There's a lot of really good NBA players that don't end up playing for the Celtics or the Lakers or the Warriors or the Bulls. You got guys like Brandon Ingram who have to play their trade in Toronto and New Orleans, and have a good career.
I didn't realize, Barry, that the Pelicans have one of the worst records in the league right now. I looked that up earlier yesterday.
They do.
You know,
They're
Zion has been a complete bust. I don't know. Their record is horrible. I don't know. It's kind of like their football team down there. They need a complete flush and reboot. It's terrible.
What they've won 12 games. So has Utah. Those are the two worst teams in the Western Conference. Now, why New Orleans is in the Western Conference is beyond me. They're in the Southwest Division. Go figure. But there you go. There's NBA talk. There's NFL talk.
Yeah,
the
there
word
is.
And John is a schedules guy. Always ready for that. John is a schedules guy, and we've been talking before about the NFL possibly going to a 18th game.
Yep.
An 18th regular season game. Goodell continues to kind of push it. He's using the Super Bowl week, not overtly, but just a little bit to kind of push it. Hey, you know, we're certainly looking into with anticipation the start of an NFL of a 18-game NFL schedule. But they interviewed yesterday the head of the National Football League Players Association, and he says none of our constituents, none of the players are interested in an 18-game schedule. Not one. Not one.
They're not going to play more games and not get paid for it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way they're thinking. And, of course,
they've had it's hard to remember. Yeah. It's hard to remember, but they've had a 17-game schedule since 2021. It feels like it was like last year. Goodell's pushing it. The executive director, his name is Lloyd Howell, which is probably what you would think the executive director of something would be named. No one wants to play an 18th game. Not one.
Did they cut back on the preseason? I want to say they dropped maybe, which is the preseason to me is ridiculous. I don't even know why they do that. 18's a lot for the regular season, particularly if you make postseason. You're playing 3 or 4 more games. You're into 20, 22 games when it's all said and done. You know, how do you stay healthy? To me, though, Barry, it needs to be an even number. I don't know. How do you have 17 regular season games? It seems like that would kind of mess some things up in tiebreakers or whatever it may be. An even number, I think, isn't 16 enough? I mean, I know they're not going to go back, but does Goodell have a reason? I mean, besides money? I mean, what is the main reason for going to 18 games?
Besides money?
Yeah.
There is no reason. Besides money? Does the NFL ever do anything for a reason other than besides money? That's what it is. That's the only thing about it. It's not like Goodell says, "Oh boy, I get an extra trip somewhere."
Well, does that mean the season start? Well, you know, and I've heard, Barry, that if they did go to 18, that maybe the regular season of the NFL would start the same weekend as the college season begins, which
the college,
you know, it's kind of been the colleges, they own that weekend, and then the NFL started the week after. I don't think the college game wants the NFL moving into their turf in week 1, but I don't think the NFL cares. They're going to do it play whenever they want. Just ask the NBA.
Let everybody else adjust after that. I thought it was great insight yesterday from C.J. Duncan when we were asking him about, you know, the NFL preseason. He said, look, nobody takes preseason games seriously. The starters don't even play in the final preseason game because they're worried to get that they're going to get hurt. Before we take a break, let's acknowledge, thank goodness, Bob from Pike Road's okay. He's fine.
He is. Man, glad to hear from Bob from Pike Road. He is back. Now, if we just find where Danny from Margaritaville is, that would be great. Look at this. Phil already taking shots at the Phantom. Saying he highly recommends fading every single bet from the Phantom. Phil, well, come on, Phil.
He says, I've won a lot from
love.
that. Yeah, come on. Yeah. I don't know.
Man.
JD says, can Trump deliver Carol Bankson an executive order citing that she must fire Mickey Loomis? Trump's going to be at the Super Bowl. I think he's at Gail Benson's box or something like that. Can you can we get Tuberville to tell Trump from you that, hey man, GM's got to go?
Did you hear Trump talking about Patrick Mahomes yesterday? And he talked about what a great job Tommy Tuberville did coaching him at Texas Tech. And I'm thinking, whoa, Trump.
Oh, hang on.
I said 47. I
Don.
think you got your years mixed up.
Yeah. Believe me. Tuberville might have hung around in Lubbock a little bit more. He said, wasn't Lubbock that Tuberville said it was like an Iraqi desert or something like that?
Yes.
Anyway.
When he was coaching at Texas Tech, we would have him on from time to time. And yeah, he was not a big fan of Lubbock, I don't believe.
No. It's the old Mac Davis song for Tubbs.
Yeah.
Happiness is Lubbock, Texas in the rearview mirror. It's 1:30. We'll take a break. Coming up, Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Hey, folks, you got to take advantage of the incredible holiday savings at Stivers Ford in Montgomery, where they sell America's best-selling truck for 50 years in a row, the F-150. And you can get an F-150 at 1.9% APR for 60 months or up to $15,000 off MSRP and no payments for 90 days. Hundreds to choose from. Your F-150 is on the lot right now. Also, F-150 Lightnings, $15,000 off MSRP and 0% APR for 72 months. What about the stylish Ford Bronco? Up to $10,000 off MSRP, starting as low as $34,990. And it started it all with the Ford Explorer. You can get one for up to $8,000 off MSRP, as low as $33,900 and 1.9% APR for 66 months. Folks, Stivers Ford is loaded with cars, trucks, and SUVs priced to sell. Stivers Ford, 4000 Eastern Boulevard in Montgomery, where price sells cars.
Heads or tails, kick or receive, with the wind or against the wind. Buy your friend a Bud Light, buy a stranger a Bud Light. Go to your team's bar, go to the opposing team's bar. Buy a round during the next truck commercial, buy a round during the next talking duck commercial. If you're truly up for whatever this weekend, grab the perfect beer for whatever happens. Crisp, refreshing Bud Light. Make two plans and let the NFL coin toss make the call. Enjoy responsibly. Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
All guests of Longshore McKnight appear on the City of Montgomery guest hotline. Check out the most interesting and informed personalities in sports covering Auburn, Alabama, Troy, ASU, and all the major teams from across the country. John and Barry have the best guests brought to you by the City of Montgomery. To find out everything you need to know that is going on in the capital city, check out montgomeryal.gov. That's montgomeryal.gov, the capital of dreams.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. About 28 minutes to the top of the hour. Longshore and McKnight, joined now by our friend Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, on our City of Montgomery guest hotline. Hey, Jason, how you doing today?
I'm good, guys. How about y'all?
We're doing really well. Let's get some basketball going first. I really enjoy. After the Auburn win over Oklahoma by 28, I spent a lot of time on AuburnUndercover.com. You guys covered it well. Particularly enjoyed your column View from the Court. I hope Auburn fans realize the margin of victory and all that. It is what it is. But what Auburn is doing in games like that is really hard, Jason. I hope people appreciate just the difficulty of just winning the game, much less winning it in the fashion that they won that one.
Yeah, I had a conversation doing another show yesterday, and somebody was talking about how they didn't feel like this team was going to lose, and I'm like, look, that's the attitude you should have, but this is a really hard league, and it is. You're going to lose games at some point. It's just the way it is. I mean, I think back, to like UNLV, and I'm like, well, that was the unbeatable basketball team, that Kentucky team a few years ago, like unbeatable, and they lost a game. You're going to lose a game at some point. That's just the nature of this sport. But to go find a way to win it's a very good trait to have in a basketball team. And Tuesday night, was a little different than it's been on some of these road trips. They kind of had to hold off teams at times on the road, and then they put the hammer down on Wednesday night and kind of got that killer instinct that they had maybe earlier in the season. And to do that for a third game in 6 days was really impressive to me. I thought once again, and I've said it a couple times this week, the most impressive thing about Tuesday night for me was they scored 54 points in the second half, and Janai Broome had 2.
Oh,
He had
wow.
2 points, and they were both free throws. He had
Yeah.
2 points, and they scored 54. That to me shows you what this team is capable of. Now, you're going to have nights when that doesn't happen, when you don't score, and it gets more difficult. Oklahoma doesn't play a whole lot of defense, so you're going to score in that game. Be different Saturday. Florida's a longer team that's got a lot of size, and so that matchup's coming. Going to Vanderbilt midweek next week will be difficult. Obviously, Tuscaloosa next Saturday. You still got Kentucky on the road, and I mean, like, there's some tougher games. This is the toughest stretch of the schedule for this Auburn team as they get ready for these next few weeks.
You know, Jason, when I look at Auburn and I look at Duke, those two teams to me are the two
Kind of
best.
separated. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are other teams out there that are good, but the things that I notice about those two teams that I do notice with others, you don't see a lot of lapses, you don't see a lot of sputtering, you don't see a lot of just stupid mistakes, turnovers, things of that nature. Things are so tight and the depth is so good, you just don't see a lot of drop off in any aspect of the game.
I think the things you look at when you start talking about basketball, obviously you talk about, rebounding. It's very similar when you start with football. You go, if you win the turnover battle, yeah, that's probably true. The same thing holds true in basketball. And you look at this Auburn team, went back and ran down it. Ja'Kai Howard is the only player on this roster that has more turnovers than assists on the entire roster. Like anybody who's played all season, and his is 3 and 6, so he doesn't have a big group. All these guys have more assists than turnovers. So you start there and you're going, look, share the basketball and don't turn it over. You're probably going to be in pretty good shape. That's kind of the starting point. But can you play good enough defense? And this team, especially second half, has been really good defensively. Early on, teams will do some things they're probably not expecting, get some shots, but been pretty good defensively. But offensively, it's probably the key. I think back to even some of those teams, even the Final Four team and teams like that, there would be times where you go, man, they just didn't make shots. Well, all of a sudden you have a 4-minute window where you score 2 points and you look up and you struggle. When you have the ability to score inside and outside multiple ways, that helps to alleviate some of those things. You're probably still going to have one at some point where, man, it just doesn't work. And you get, but for the most part, yeah, when you're able to avoid the 12-2 runs that teams can put on you when you don't score in a while, that tends to help out a lot.
Yeah, and I thought Porter Moser, the Oklahoma coach, he had so many complimentary things to say. He said, Auburn's got length and, they got shooters everywhere. Goodness, Kelly and Baker Mazzara and Denver and those guys like that. But he says they play so hard. So I've always thought, at least for this year's Auburn team, Jason, that when they go through a stretch where they only score 4 points in 4 minutes, and you look up, and neither has the other team. You may be they outscore you 6-4 in a situation where the shots are not dropping, but they only make up 2 points off the deficit just because of how Auburn constantly, to bring up John's point about consistency, constantly plays so hard on the defensive end.
Yeah, and really the one thing right now is that teams going to the free throw line. Oklahoma in the second half going to the free throw line. That's the one thing, but it's the one thing you understand. You go like, look, that's the way you play. You're going to probably have more fouls than the other team because you're more aggressive. And I watched the game last night. I can't remember who it was, but I know who it was. It was Texas. It was Texas Arkansas, and watching switching and closing out on shooters, and Texas just leaving guys they're switching, but they're not closing out, so they're shooting wide open shots.
Put a hand up. That was
right.
It.
You're going to get some fouls called when you do that, but you're also going to impact just about every shot a team takes, and so they'll take that trade off every time. And so, so I think that's part of it too. Is that when you guard really hard, you're going to probably foul more than the other team. But that's the trade-off you take by being aggressive on defense.
Top 10 matchup Saturday afternoon at Neville. Number 6, Florida. Number 1, Auburn. Florida's had some good games, impressive wins already this season.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team with a lot of length. I mean, Auburn has length at the guard positions, and you think about how much longer they've got, and Florida has a bunch of those guys inside. I mean, they're long, big, pretty athletic. Walter Clayton didn't play against Vanderbilt. I would expect him to be back Saturday, and that's a big deal for him because, obviously when you can knock down shots from the perimeter and you have that size inside, it makes you a difficult matchup. And Todd Golden knows Bruce Pearl and Stephen Pearl as well as anybody who's on this staff. That makes it hard. You hear Bruce Pearl say, look, it makes it really difficult when everybody knows your stuff. And so that, for me, makes this, and I've said it, going to Tuscaloosa, obviously Alabama's a really good basketball team. To me, on the court, just 5-on-5, this is the most difficult matchup for Auburn of the year because of the way Florida plays, because of their size, and because of each other so well. So I think this is going to be a street fight Saturday. I think it's that type of game.
Jason Caldwell is with us, AuburnUndercover.com. I know you know this, but it struck John and me yesterday late in our show that, hey, today's National Signing Day. They're like, oh, yeah. For the layman out there, two-part question. Number one, why has it is it totally devalued now? Is there any value? And number two, what was the upshot of National Signing Day specific to Auburn?
Yeah, the second part first, Omar Mabson, reclassified from 26 to 25. So he was a guy that would just have been a senior next year at Auburn High School and decided, hey, I can get my stuff done. I'm ready to go ahead and go. And so those are the types of guys now that will take advantage of this. And then more of the guys that did not have the Power 5 offers, then now you see the Middle Tennessee States of the world and a bunch of those schools that they get some really quality football players in this. I thought yesterday running back from Opelika, Calvin Hughley, went to South Dakota State, which is a pretty good football program. I'm thinking that's a really good get for a school like that to get a physical running back from Opelika. So that's kind of what it is. I would guess, other than the North Carolina's teams that made coaching changes that are looking to sign some high school guys. It's not a whole lot of things done for the Power 4 programs because nowadays most everybody signs early and most everybody's already on campus. So it's changed everything.
Somebody asked me yesterday afternoon, and if Barry hadn't brought it up yesterday morning, I would have completely overlooked that it was National Signing Day. And we've talked about it so many times before. Back in the day, it was a big deal. People, that's the only way they could find out is on radio shows and things of that nature. But now with the way that signing day and how it's all structured nowadays, and they asked me, anything big happen on signing day? Not only at Auburn or Alabama or in the SEC or just nationwide. And I said, I haven't heard a thing. I mean, it's been kind of quiet. I just don't know if there really was any big earth-shattering news yesterday.
Yeah, there's not anybody that you would consider, the 5-star type prospect that waits any longer. Because again, other than a handful of guys, even with Omar Mabson now, I think it's 26 kids for Auburn, all but 5 are on campus. And so, and two of those kids, Omar Mabson and Cale Ellis, are kids that reclassified. So they're already moving their calendar up an entire year. So they won't graduate until May. I mean, it would have been almost impossible to graduate a year and a half early. So two of the 5 for Auburn are guys that would have been seniors next year in high school that will graduate, be on campus in this summer and start their college careers a full fall earlier than expected. So yeah, that's really the name of the game now is signing in December, enrolling early, going through bowl practices or doing whatever, and being on campus in January.
We had a former SEC player on yesterday, C.J. Duncan from Montgomery, who played at Vanderbilt, and we were talking about spring practice because I'd asked him. There was a quote from Steve Sarkisian saying, I wish we could do something different in spring than. Ever since they started counting your spring game as your third scrimmage, we don't want to show anybody what we got. I just as soon not have it. I asked him about that, and he said, I prefer that they go to an NFL model with OTAs and all that kind of stuff. Then yesterday, I read at AuburnUndercover.com that Hugh Freeze was saying he wishes he didn't even have spring at all, much less spring games and stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, we talked to him at the Senior Bowl last week, and that's what he said. Yeah, and he said, I would rather have the NFL OTA model where you're able to really do workouts all spring. So you're with the guys, strength and conditioning to get guys prepared, get their bodies right, do those things, and learning, doing the on the field classroom type of learning things, but not put the pads on, do those things, and then have OTAs, a couple of those sessions in the summer, have OTAs where you can come in, guys get ready, because then your guys that aren't here early can still get that work in. You can still practice them and get them prepared for a season. That's the big part right now, is guys that don't come in spring practice now are so far behind. Even if it's just 12 days, 13 days, or whatever it is, 12 or 13 practice days, when you think about, that's almost a preseason camp. And so you're missing that time. I think then if you're eliminating some of that, then you might be able to get back to where you're, hey, go enjoy high school, go to prom, come in May, you'll still have OTAs and you can still get prepared for a season. Maybe it helps to balance the calendar back out a little bit.
Jason, I was hearing of an example out at Nebraska. They're feeling the same way because when they had their spring game, I believe it was last year.
Yeah,
everybody in the country saw what they had, and they're out there poaching players off the Cornhuskers roster when the portal opened up again. And I get it. You're exposing the world to what you got in these spring games. Not everything, obviously. It's pretty vanilla, but you can tell maybe who some of the players are, whatnot. And I certainly get it. We don't want to expose the country to what we've got so people can come in here and steal them from us.
Yeah, that's why spring games now, Auburn's basically lasted an hour and a half or so last year, and that was doing much of nothing. Ole Miss had a Pro Bowl, basically, where they're playing basketball games or doing something, whatever. That's what's going to happen. And honestly, for me, you'd almost be better off just, hey, look, we're just going to have a practice. Come in, we're going to do an autograph signing afterwards. You can come down and meet the team. Turn it into almost a fan day in the spring. Let people come enjoy to say, hey, come home, come see the team practice for a little while. We're not going to play a game, but come down and, hey, sign autographs and come down on the field, take pictures. Just turn it into that, because, if they continue to have a spring portal window, then coaches are going to continue to show less and less and actual have spring games. They're just not going to do it because of that. Because, hey, I don't want to go. You got a third teamer. That guy's pretty good. Well, he's not going to get playing time. Somebody's going to call his agent and say, hey, you can come start for us. You're not even going to play for that team. And then it changes everything.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't believe Vanderbilt had a spring game last year. I've just cracked the code. Nobody knew what to expect out of the Commodores in the fall because they didn't have a spring game.
They knew what they had in the quarterback, though. They knew that guy already, and that was the biggest part of it. So.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let me backtrack just a little bit, Jason. I got a text yesterday afternoon from a buddy of mine in Auburn who took his little boy to the Oklahoma game. It's the first game he'd been to. I think he's 5. Loved the atmosphere, loved all of that. But he said his favorite player is Dylan Caldwell. I guess because of the emotion and all that kind of stuff. I don't think people talk enough about the impact that he has on the team, on and off the court. Give us a thumbnail of your perception of Caldwell and what he does for the basketball team.
Yeah, there's nobody that loves just being out there and playing probably more than him, and I think that shows. Here's the thing I think about Dylan Caldwell. His numbers won't show it. Now, he'll block some shots. He does some things. I honestly believe that he should be the National Defensive Player of the Year. I think he impacts the game that much by being able to defend on the perimeter as a big guy. Because Auburn, they're going to switch, and they're going to switch. And you watch them. Well, for Chad Baker-Mazara and for the guards, that's an easy switch. Most bigs can't switch and guard guys on the perimeter.
Out on the floor,
To me, he's the key to their defense because of the things he's able to do. Now, Broome can do that. He hasn't been able to do it as much now, and I still think he's probably 60%, maybe 70% at the most. He's still not close to 100%. But Dylan Caldwell's a guy that gives you all those things. And if you look up and you got 8 points and 8 rebounds from Dylan Caldwell and 8 points and 7 rebounds from Chaney Johnson, and you get 16 and 13 from your power forward or other bigs, then it makes this team really difficult.
Going to be a great atmosphere for Saturday afternoon.
Oh.
Number 6 Florida, number 1 Auburn going at it there at Neville Arena. Man, I'm looking forward to it. Should be good.
Yeah, should be good. And we left the arena. I mean, obviously late night the other night. It was 11:30 probably by the time we got out of there. And I walked out the front, and because somebody already told me, look, that people were wanting to line up, and they said, look, give us an hour after the game before you start to line up. And so there were probably 18 to 20 tents that were being set up an hour after that game.
Tuesday night.
So they've been out there since Tuesday, and they'll be there till 3 o'clock. So they already had them in queues. Hey, here's where it starts. And so I haven't been out there. My guess is there's probably, close to 1,000 students that'll be out there now as you get closer to Saturday.
That is unbelievable. So much coverage of basketball, of course, with football and National Signing Day and Omar Babson and all that. Plus, baseball gets started as well. We're going to ask you about that next week because I know nobody covers baseball or Auburn sports like AuburnUndercover.com. How do people sign on, Jason?
Yep, like I said, AuburnUndercover.com, part of the 24/7 network. And like I said, tons of things going on. It's also softball. Philip Marshall will get our softball coverage kicked off. They start Friday, a couple of games, including North Carolina here. Jane B. Moorfield. So softball starts this weekend. Basketball, we got an Under Armour camp on Sunday in Carrollton, Georgia, where there'll be, 250 or so really top prospects. We'll get a chance to see some of those guys too. So basketball, baseball, softball, football. This is the busy time of year. So come check us out.
Got covered at AuburnUndercover.com. You better believe it. If you want to know everything going on with Auburn Athletics, Jason Caldwell and that staff have got all the info for you, so make sure you check it out.
Thank you very much, Jason. Appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. We'll talk next week. Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com. First thing that popped into my mind, Barry, I sure hope that press box at the Jane B. Moore softball complex has been reconfigured because I don't want to be reading about that all spring.
You can do what you want with the north end zone scoreboard. You can do what you want at Plainsman Park. But if Philip Marshall skins his kneecaps on the low desk at Jane B. Moorfield's press he's gonna have to pick it or something like that. Can you give Philip a break?
It's a bad memory, Barry. It's a bad memory because I think the same person or company that built the press box at Jane B. Moore also built the one where the old press box used to be before they built that boat anchor addition at Jordan-Hare. It was an Iron Bowl or whatever. I'm in the Auburn press box. It's the game where Philip took the last ice cream sandwich out of the ice cream box. You're going to
have to narrow that down. like he's only done that once. Yeah. Oh, that game. No, like every game.
I'm getting up from my little position there in the Auburn press box, and I banged the you-know-what out of my kneecap because that dadgum console was so low. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Philip, I feel you. I know what I felt that pain. It is not fun. Not
John
fun.
Support. Yeah. Philip, we're on your side. He's going to write about it, though. He is.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Let's take a break. Coming up in the next hour, not only Rodney Orr at TiderInsider.com, but we're talking hoops with Bart Hyche as well. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Why Hands? At Hands Heating and Air, you get this area's highest ranked service provider with 24-hour repair service, no overtime charges, and their same-day service guarantee. Plus, instead of other companies' 30-day repair warranty, Hands gives you a 3-year repair warranty. Hands Heating and Air is here for you 24/7, 365. And service is not just something they do, it's their way of operating, for you in mind. All of Hands employees are trained to adhere to this standard. They work hard to ensure that this standard is maintained, and they are constantly looking for new ways to better serve you. Call Hands Heating and Air today at 508-5382. That's 508-5382, or find them on the web at 834hands.com.
Some days you hit snooze, but not today. Today you have to go on a run to get burgers for the tailgate. you've got to haul something heavy, a cooler stocked with Bud Light. When you've got beer and football, nothing is hard. Until the other team scores. Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Enjoy responsibly. 21 plus, copyright 2024 Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry is an Alabama-based, family-owned and operated business that specializes in dry cleaning and laundry, serving the River region since 1941. There are 12 convenient locations across the River region. Find one close to you or call 481-1911 for free pickup and delivery. For 83 years, Central Alabama has trusted Jim Massey's Cleaners and Laundry. You should too.
Of course, Jim Massey will be bringing you Lee Sterling tomorrow from Paramount Sports. He'll join us to give us a little insight for the big game on Sunday afternoon. So we certainly look forward to that. Barry, a question on our River Region Straw chat line. Wanted to know, how many hats do you take with you when you're on the road?
Well, the last couple of trips have been a little bit longer. I usually take two. I wore my Adidas cap yesterday. I got this one today. A lot of times, I mean, I have a roommate here. He's right over there, and I don't want to get up too early and get ready and, whatever. So
I hear you.
I just put on a cap, and, normally I have two, sometimes three, maybe a running cap or something like that. We also got this conversation, and I noted this yesterday. President Donald Trump signed an executive order prohibiting transgender athletes from competing in female sports. The NCAA has vowed that they're going to comply with the executive order, which I mean you should. If the president says you got to do it. Anyway, it's called the No Men in Women's Sports Executive Order. It was signed yesterday on National Girls and Women in Sports Day. It says that schools allowing trans athletes to compete in female sports will be in violation of Title IX. In other words, the Trump administration says Title IX says that trans girls playing women's sports constitutes sex discrimination against I don't know how to call it. I don't know what the words are. Natural females, women, people who have two X chromosomes. That it discriminates against young high school athletes who have two X chromosomes, and therefore it's unfair and violates Title IX. The Biden administration said that that issue should be based on gender identity rather than actual natural.
Yeah. Well, that's why he's sitting on a beach in Delaware, because they were more worried about the government paying for sex change operations and transgenders playing sports against girls. And this, the new administration is more worried about the economy and putting more money in your pocket and making sporting events fair for all, females particularly. I know you might find this hard to believe, but here at Network Control, we have a bank of TV monitors. I actually have one on Fox News, believe it or not. I know that might shock you out there, but I did see when that press conference came on yesterday afternoon, and I took a look and listened to it, and very impressive room of people that were there when that announcement was made and the presentation was there at the White House, and a lot of people were behind that to make that happened yesterday.
Have you seen any YouTube videos, because there's a lot out there, of like the Texas girls high school 200-yard dash finals, or I think another one is Oregon, something like that, where they will show those? I think the one I was looking at the other day was Texas, where this biological male, somebody with an X and a Y chromosome, just blew away the field in the 100 meter. It wasn't a final or anything. It was I mean, he won that heat, in 100 meters, 100 yards, whatever, by a second. And if he had run that time in the same heat in the boys, whatever, semifinals, quarterfinals, he would have finished dead last. That just, John, sometimes things are just common sense.
Sure.
Sometimes
you
things
got to lose.
that just doesn't seem right.
No. I saw a video of a biological male playing female volleyball in a girls' volleyball match. This guy's going up and spiking it and hurting these young women on the other side of the net.
Girl took one right in the face.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I could go off all day on this topic. I mean, it just was ridiculous in my mind. I mean, people looking for attention or maybe feeling like, well, I can't win. I can't beat boys, so I'm just going to go become a girl and beat them.
Yeah. Anyway, the NCAA says that they are going to abide by the decision. 27 states have laws or policies banning trans participation in sports, including Alabama. And I noticed, John mentioned this, that at that signing of the executive order, both Alabama senators were present. Both of them support that executive
Katie
order.
Britt, I believe, was on the front row. I did not see Tuberville, but I know he was there because
I saw a picture with him. I saw them together. Katie Britt, who has she and her husband have been guests on her program. Her husband played at football at Alabama. She's been kind of a shooting star up there. I mean, she's come up there and she's earned some respect early on.
I think they've got some. I think they got some plans for her in the future.
I'm a very impressive young lady. Anyway,
yeah,
so
very, very impressive.
There is that. Yes,
yeah. Believe it or not, it's interesting. Every now and then I'll see her in the grocery store. I'll go, whoa, wait a minute, what? That's our senator. My daughter, who lives in D.C., she actually ran into Tuberville at a grocery store in D.C.
You told me that
a couple of months ago. I thought, really?
Yeah.
She said, yeah. So, well, all right, Rodney Orr, the Tider Insider. He joins us each and every Thursday as we kick off the 8 o'clock hour. And, of course, he's brought to you exclusively by our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Check this out. David sent me this text earlier today, so, man, get ready. Crawfish are in season, and the Destin Connection has got their first batch of extra spicy boiled crawfish in this morning. He says they're taking orders for live crawfish next Tuesday through Thursday to be picked up Friday or Saturday. Also, all sizes of shrimp were just unloaded this morning, as well as a large variety of fresh fish. The weather is perfect, and the seafood is rolling in daily. So call, and your order will be ready for pickup. Live crawfish, the spicy, boiled as well. You got the boiled shrimp. You got the fresh seafood, 288-4272. That's 288-4272. Or go by and see them, 3750 Norman Bridge Road, the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Shipments coming in daily of the freshest seafood. As he mentioned, the weather's perfect. And, of course, the fish, they're just hopping in the boat. They ain't even already sticking a lure out there anymore. They're hopping in the boat, and they're at the Destin Connection right there in the display case for you to check out. Go by and see our friends today.
Rodney Orr joins us here. Rodney, welcome into the program, brought to you by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Appreciate you being on with us.
I appreciate you guys having me.
So, Rodney, we ask you probably the same question 2 or 3 weeks in a row. What's the deal with Ryan Grubb? Well, now we know. So your thoughts about him joining this staff, and how do you think the staff will shake out now that he is now the new offensive coordinator?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, as you look at Ryan Grubb coming in, obviously the track record that he has, the familiarity with Kalen DeBoer, I think is really big. I think it's really important. They have a great long history together. They understand each other, on the same page. And this is really nothing against Nick Sheridan at all. I mean, it's kind of a deal where last year, I'm sure you've told your listeners, explained to them that, or reminded them that, Grubb came last year. He was here for 2 or 3 weeks and left. But with all that said, John and Barry, you always want to look at the track record, I think, of a coach or whatever. And I think when you look at the track record of Ryan Grubb, you see what happened at Washington. When they got there, they took over a 4-8 team and went 25-3 over the next 2 years. And I say that to say that a big part of that was the improvement they made offensively under Ryan Grubb. And you look at what they were averaging, 21 points a game in before, the year before. Their first year there, they bumped it up to 39 points a game. They improved the total offense output, total yards, like 200 yards a game in their first year. They were over 500 yards of offense. They'd been 323. They went up to 515. It's pretty significant when you look at that. I think too, you look at the sort of the next year, their second year there, they had a 4,900 yard passer, Penix. They had a 1,600 yard receiver. They had a 1,100 yard receiver. They had another receiver that caught 40 plus balls. Their tight end caught 46 balls. Jeremy Bernard was on that team, if you remember. He caught 34 balls as their fourth receiver. I'm talking about their fourth wide receiver. So he caught 34 balls that year. A lot of distribution. But you know what Alabama fans are asking? What about the run game? Well, they had a 1,250-yard rusher who scored, 16 touchdowns, Dylan Johnson. The first year there, they had a 900-yard rusher and another guy that had 400. So as a tandem, they combined for 1,300. So they had balance. They had. Now, did they throw it more? Yes. Would you expect Alabama to throw it more now? Probably. I mean, I think Alabama ran it, 58% of the time this last year? I think you probably are going to go more pass heavy. And again, I don't know how much, but I think we'll see more passing than we did this past year.
Any idea where Nick Sheridan ends up now that Grubbs is the OC?
I think, obviously, I think he stays on staff at another position. There's, different buzz going around about, where that might be. But I know from what I was told, 2 days ago, night ago too, DeBoer was still kind of working some things out. So I really don't know exactly. Some people have said tight end. Some people say maybe he's still coach quarterback. Some people said he might, be positioned somewhere else. But I think ultimately when DeBoer he may not have all the pieces there yet. I mean, what if the way these, staffs are now, you can bring in a lot of guys. And what if Scott Huff comes back, the offensive line coach from Seattle? How would they kind of shift things around or make space for him if that happened? So I think DeBoer's kind of got some parts right now he's placing, and we'll see.
Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, joining us this morning as he does each and every Thursday, sponsored exclusively by the Destin Connection Seafood Market. Rodney, with Ryan Grubb coming in and the new offensive coordinator, do you get the sense that maybe some of these competitions, maybe particularly at quarterback, are going to be open? I mean, I think there was this feeling that Ty Simpson was just the next man up and would just move on in. But I'm hearing some rumblings that this might be more of an open competition now that Grubbs is on campus.
Well, I mean, I think that going into spring, Ty will be the number one guy. But I also think it's he's got to take the bull by the horns, whoever the guy is. It's who's. So I really think it was Ty going in number one, but there's a certain degree of it's an open competition. I mean, if the best guy is Austin Mack or even the true freshman Keelan Russell, then I think, during the spring, I'm not saying that decision would be made in the spring by any stretch. I think, maybe not be finalized until fall camp, August camp. But, I think there's a competition there per se, but I do think that Ty goes in number one.
And I don't think you want to really show your hand. And in this day of transferring and whatnot, I think you got to make sure, everybody's happy and everybody's got a chance to play, because you don't want anybody bailing on you after spring practice. You certainly want that depth chart to be as strong as it can be.
Yeah, because after spring, that portal opens again.
Yep.
A guy that if he's discouraged, he could jump in the portal. So these coaches now are walking a real thin line to keep their players, upbeat, positive, motivated about their chances to compete and earn some playing time. So I think you're really correct there on that, John.
I see Barry there in the holding room. I don't know if he can. There he is.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. There he is. Okay.
Having some internet issues here in the hotel.
I understand.
I hope we are hanging.
Rodney, have you ever heard of Harrisonburg, Virginia? That's where Barry is today.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes. Hometown of Ralph Sampson, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
Ralph, back in the day.
I don't know if John has brought this up, but we were reminiscing yesterday, right at the very end of the show. We looked at each other and I said, John, today's National Signing Day.
I know. Can you believe that?
I know you could probably spend an hour telling stories about just how crazy the first Wednesday in February used to be, Rodney. It was like, for a lot of our guys, it was Christmas and Easter rolled into one.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is too, spent a lot of time talking to you guys through the years on those days, wrapping it up, how it went, all of those things. And, yesterday, like you said, I mean, you don't even really realize that it's National Signing Day, because most of the guys obviously all sign in the early signing period in December. And but yeah, there's been some wild ones. I mean, we've seen them through the years, and I've been following this a long time. Started really following recruiting back in 1975. That's a long time ago. So seen some crazy things happen. But yesterday, I mean, it's just nothing. And Alabama fans, some of them didn't like that. They wanted to know, hey, aren't we going to sign somebody else? But I think Alabama, they're about at 80 right now, somewhere around 80 total. They've got 5 spots, say roughly 5.
Right.
And I think what you'll see is they'll kind of evaluate the portal after spring and go from there. I think we could see some portal additions potentially after spring.
Rodney, a topic we've touched on a lot this week, and I don't know if it's been talked about in Tuscaloosa, if Kalen DeBoer's mentioned it, but spring practice. There seems to be coaches and programs all around the country that kind of want to revamp it, kind of do it a different way. I've cited the Nebraska coaching staff talking about, after their last spring game, teams are coming in there and poaching some of their players because these teams could see what Nebraska had because it's there in the opening being exposed. Is there any talk about spring changes, doing it differently? Has DeBoer said anything about that? I know Hugh Freeze has been outspoken about some things he'd like to see changed in spring football. What are you hearing on that?
Yeah, I haven't really heard much. I know that all I've heard is they're really excited about spring. So I don't think there's any thought to certainly canceling the spring game per se. But I do think that makes a lot of sense, from Matt Rule's perspective. I think, that happens. You're watching those teams, and I thought about it last year when some ESPN was carrying, some of these spring games. I'm sitting there going, I bet some coaches are looking and saying, hey, that guy, man, we like him. So yeah, I mean, I certainly understand that, why he would, consider that. But as far as Alabama, no, I haven't heard anything to that extent. But I do know that based on things I've heard, they're really excited about spring practice here.
Got a lot of young talent, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Last question I'm probably ever going to ask you about this, but do you think Jalen Milroe helped or hurt himself at the Senior Bowl?
I don't know. Just kind of listening to the the vibes, if you will.
Mhm.
I don't think he helped himself. Quite honestly,
Yeah.
things I've heard. I know the game itself is kind of it's hard to really judge. I
Yeah.
think it was the week of practices that the inconsistency, just things that they saw. The scouts had the opportunity to see. I think it's just the inconsistency, and now I see where some of these mock drafts are suddenly starting to drop him. And you're hearing the whispers. Look, I'll be honest with you, and it's not. This is not an anti-Milroe by any stretch of the imagination. He's not a top 3 pick. There's been people saying mocking him at number 3. I mean, he's not a top 3 pick. It's not that he's not talented. It's not that but he's a very developmental guy. And one thing that caught my attention, guys, and again, I hate to take a quote and start trying to make more out of it than maybe it is. So I'm not really trying to do that. But as I'm listening to Milroe talk, and I think someone asked him about changing positions or what would he consider that or whatever. And I do understand his feelings on that. He's been a quarterback all his life. So I could understand, even if he was a little offended by that. But when he says, I'm not changing for any coach or whatever, that really struck me. Because I think the one thing that I kind of hear behind the scenes, I've heard about Milroe is just kind of the difficulty of getting him to understand coaching. And, you got to be coachable. You got to do what your coach tells you to do. You remember, let's go back to the Texas A&M game, that very first game he started. What was that, in 2022? Is that right?
Yep, about then, yep.
2021, whatever it was. Okay, so he started because Bryce got injured, and they played A&M here. And you remember after the game, Saban was really kind of infuriated, and he said, we coach a guy to do a certain thing, and he doesn't do what we coached him to do.
Yep.
And that really
miffs
me. That really miffs me. And I think that's the one thing with Milroe is just, you know what? Got to be coachable.
Rodney, didn't Bill O'Brien make a statement about Milroe playing a different position when he was at Alabama?
Well, Milroe was asked right before the Rose Bowl. You remember that? Michigan, if he had ever if anybody had tried to ever influence him to maybe consider playing another position. And he said, yeah, my coach, Bill O'Brien, who of course was gone by then. And Milroe made a comment. So you see who got the last laugh. Now, I really don't know what O'Brien never commented on that. He never responded to that. But so I really don't know what he might have insinuated for Milroe to do. But, I know that they early in his career when O'Brien was there, they really considered, or I think O'Brien, I don't know if Saban. Now, Saban's kind of reluctant to do these things, but using Milroe in different packages to get his athleticism on the field, maybe taking direct snaps, whatever it is, just utilizing him in different ways because he was so talented athletically. But, again, that never happened. And Saban was not very open to those ideas, I don't think.
Yeah.
Rodney, I got to turn people on to a thing on TiderInsider where you had posted a few National Signing Day memories. I've heard about a couple of those, but you were telling the story. I had never heard this before. 1979, Alabama was heavily pursuing a top defensive lineman from Utah.
Yeah.
What was that story, Rodney? That was awesome.
Well, first of all, I'm just going to clarify real quickly. We're talking about the state of Utah, not the little area out here at Tuscaloosa.
No, not EUTAW, correct.
Yeah, we're talking about, way out there.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And you know what was unusual about that is Alabama rarely recruited outside the state and the Southeast in that time frame. Maybe in the Virginias, up on the East Coast a little bit, but mostly stuck to this region. But they were recruiting a kid named Chuck Ian. It's 1979, and he was a defensive lineman, very highly touted player. His dream school, of all things, was Alabama. Wanted to play for the Bear, and so he was going to sign with Alabama on National Signing Day. This will show you the difference between times. So that morning he gets up and they get a Western Union telegram. It arrives at his house and it says, "We're sorry to inform you that the University of Alabama no longer has a scholarship available. We're going to fill our allotment." And it was signed Paul Bryant. So later that day, if you remember back in those times, assistant coaches would fly or go to the schools of these kids or to their homes, and they'd sign them right on the spot. They could do that. The assistant coaches would travel to do that. And so the Alabama assistant coach arrives at the kid's home at the agreed time, and he's like, "Coach, I got a telegram from Coach Bryant, 2 hours ago or whatever it was, that y'all are out of scholarships." And he said, "I signed with BYU." And, the coach was, that was a long flight back home, but that's what happened. I mean, and today, as I posted on TiderInsider, that mystery still is unresolved. How did
Who
that
sent
happen?
that telegram?
Who sent
that
I was thinking
telegram?
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Who did
Who
send that
sent
telegram?
that telegram? Some people I remember reading, some people suggested it was Auburn, but other people,
Sure
said,
it
"No, it's
was.
probably."
John knows right where
Or it
that
might have been
Western Union
BYU,
office is
Yeah,
located, too.
yeah, it's right there on the Kroger, right there on University Boulevard.
Yeah, Chris Porter knows. Yeah.
You mentioned not recruiting out of state a lot back then. I'm with you. I totally agree. I remember that. And I know we've talked about this player before, but I cannot think of his name. But in the 70s, Alabama had a running back from California. Was it Joe LeBou?
Joe LeBou. They did have Joe LeBou, and he was in the Wishbone. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was he from California?
I
remember they had a running back from California, and I remember as a kid looking at the roster going, wait a minute.
Steve Bisceglia, was he from California?
Yeah, maybe. But I remember as a kid in the 70s looking at the program going, whoa, wait a minute. This kid's from California. This guy's from California when I was like 10. And I thought that was very out of the ordinary. And then, of course, when Peter Kim showed up, that was really out of the ordinary.
Oh, yeah.
Having a guy from Hawaii. But
you remember John Mitchell?
Yeah.
You remember John Mitchell?
Yes.
John Mitchell was from Mobile, and he went to a junior college in Arizona.
Yes.
And John McKay had him committed and made the mistake. He was playing golf with Coach Bryant and made the mistake of saying, "Man, we got this kid. He's originally from Mobile. He's at Arizona Community College. And this kid, he's a great player. He's committed to us. We got him." And Coach Bryant dispatched his assistant over there and said, you better go check on this guy. So guess where he ended up?
Yeah.
John McKay would have been better off keeping quiet. But
one more before we let you go, because somebody texted me about this, talking about switching positions. I didn't realize this. Tommy Wilcox was a great quarterback in Louisiana, came to Alabama, switched positions, became an All-American defensive back for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah. Yeah, Tommy's a good friend of mine. Just talked to him yesterday, in fact. Yeah, Tommy was from Harahan, Louisiana. He played against a lot of people down there. At Orgeron. He played against Orgeron in high school. Remember Bobby Hebert?
Oh, yeah.
Remember him. John loves him.
Yeah, you can't.
Bobby Hebert and Ed Orgeron were on the same high school team.
Oh, wow.
Tommy's team, St. Bonnabel, played them in high school. They also played against John Forcade. You remember John Forcade?
We've had him as a guest on the show. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So what happened? Yeah. Tommy was a great high school quarterback. There's no doubt about that. Could have been a really good wishbone quarterback. He got here. They were kind of stacked, at the time. They had a lot of quarterbacks here. And Tommy redshirted his first year. I don't know if you guys know this story or not. But Tommy redshirted his first year here. And that was 1978. They won the national championship. And, Coach Bryant was really high on him. Well, Tommy, I don't know if Tommy got discouraged or what exactly it was, being from New Orleans. He goes home and quits. I mean, he's not coming back to Alabama. Coach Bryant called Tommy and said, "Tommy, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to come see you. I want to talk to you." And Tommy said, "Well, okay, Coach, fine. You're welcome." So Coach Bryant flies down there. Think about that. Specifically to see Tommy Wilcox. And he takes him to a hotel and he says, Tommy, look, I got big plans for you. I think you can be a great, great player. We think you can be a great safety for us. We're going to, but we think if you come do what I tell you to do, you're going to be really, really good. He talked Tommy into coming back. And Tommy came back and was a freshman All-American that next year. He was a redshirt freshman, but on that 79 national championship team. And, Tommy just loves Coach Bryant. I mean, he said, he shudders to think if Coach Bryant, had not come down there, what maybe his future would have been. But think about this. Another thing that he said, man, just think about this. He said that Coach Bryant would have cared enough to have taken a day out to fly down to New Orleans just to meet with me. And he said, man, it's something that today still is a very influential part of Tommy's life. That? It really is. He tells me about it very often. We'll talk about it.
How about that?
It's a pretty amazing thing.
Well, the recall from Rodney Orr about a lot of these guys is an amazing thing as well, because I did some research. Steve Buscaglia, Fresno, California. You're exactly right, Rodney.
Yeah, I felt so. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Hey, Rodney, I know you got a lot going on. Yep. Basketball's got the week off, but they got a game in Fayetteville Saturday night, so I know they have a lot of people are excited about that one. I know you got it all covered: football, basketball, recruiting, your message boards. Tell everybody how they can find you at Tider Insider TV, your book. You got so much going on. Tell us about it.
Well, I appreciate it. It's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card, or if you prefer, there is an address there to send a check. And again, that gives you, our premium stuff. And got a couple of little recruiting recap from earlier this week. But it's our all sports forum right now. We're doing a lot of sharing on the community message board there that we have. And, there's always discussion there. But also the book, as you mentioned, Bigger Than Bama. Of course, you can find that at rodneyorr.com, or you can go to Amazon, either one. But it details the book and, how you can get it if you're interested.
Yeah, if you ought to be interested, I've got it, and I enjoyed reading it. Didn't take me very, very long, because once I got into it, I really absorbed it. Rodney, as always, we absorbed the content.
Real quick, I want to say,
sure.
Are you there with the Troy basketball team?
Yeah, we're in Harrisonburg. Basketball yesterday. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to say this about Johnny Williams, who, of course, passed away earlier this week, the former Troy AD. I mean, Johnny was a fantastic guy, man. And, for all the Troy people out there, certainly I knew Johnny personally. To me, not a nicer guy, man. I mean, he was a fantastic guy.
No question.
He was,
just wanted to kind of pass along that.
And what he not only did for Troy and at his time at Alabama when Coach Moore was the AD, but what he is done in Montgomery for this bowl game and these preseason games, the Guardian Classic, the Red Tail Classic, of course, the Salute to Veterans Bowl that we have here in December, and all the high school events. I mean, he really did a ton sports-wise for the city of Montgomery, and we are very, very appreciative of the efforts that he put in place, because it has been really big for us.
And John and Barry, I'll say this too, just for his position that he had, he was like a really humble guy. I mean, he was down to earth, he called you and he was genuine. I mean, that's the one thing because Johnny and I talked about doing a few things together, and I just remember he was always, just a real, I mean, I couldn't tell you how humble and polite of a guy he was.
Wow. It's very meaningful that you took the time to say that, Rodney. Thank you very much for that, and thank you for your time here this morning. It means a lot to us.
Okay, guys, greatly appreciate it.
You too, buddy. We'll talk next week. That's the Tider Insider. Rodney Orr, brought to you exclusively Our friends at the Destin Connection Seafood Market. And David lets me know crawfish are in season, and they got their first batch this morning, taking orders for live crawfish. And you can get those at the Destin Connection. Of course, also all sizes of shrimp are available, unloaded fresh this morning. And, of course, a large variety of the freshest fish in the river region. Call 288-4272 to have your order ready for pickup, or just drop by and see them, 3750 Norman Bridge Road. Wow, great stuff from Rodney Orr. Of course, Bart Hyche, our college basketball insider, going to join us here in a couple of minutes.
In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
The Destin Connection Seafood Market offers the freshest seafood direct from the Gulf of Mexico with deliveries daily. Snapper, grouper, pompano, flounder, copia, along with medium, large, and jumbo shrimp, hand-picked crab meat, and chucked oysters. They can even cook your order for easy, quick pickup. The Destin Connection can make a po' boy with any of their seafood items that folks in New Orleans rave about. Go by and see them at 3750 Norman Bridge Road or call 288-4272 for pickup orders.
This isn't going to work. No matter what we say, some people still drive drunk. But we're Budweiser. Giving a damn is what we do. So, if you think it's okay to drive drunk, if you think it's something that's debatable, or you just simply don't care, this Bud is not for you. Give a damn. Don't drive drunk. Enjoy responsibly. Budweiser Beer, Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Missouri.
Local banking expertise, the newest innovations and technology, personal attention, genuine hospitality. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. They invite you to experience it for yourself. Welcome to Banking Above and Beyond at Riverbank and Trust. Locations throughout the river region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Riverbank and Trust. We're back at it here, about 29 minutes to the top of the hour. So glad you're with us here on Longshore and McKnight. Man, we've been talking a lot of hoops today, a lot of football. And Barry, I know our next guest, Bart Hyche, our college basketball insider, brought to you by our good friends at Riverbank and Trust, is going to join us here. I believe maybe he's going to join us now.
Well, it's Bart. Hey, how we doing?
How we doing, guys? Coming to you
Good,
from Jackson, Mississippi today, over on the Spillway, Barry.
Love it.
How about that? There we go. All right.
Yeah,
Jackson,
man.
Mississippi. Well, I'm in Virginia. Troy took one on the chin late yesterday against James Madison. So hurting just a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about the top 25, first of all. Well, the SEC. Let's start with there first. It seems as though in the SEC standings now there's a little separation, Bart. Auburn and Alabama, first and second in the league, 2 games up on the rest of the field right now. Is that going to last? Is that going to stay that way?
For one of them, probably. Now, which one? Guys, it's that gap to me is not that big. I love this Auburn team. I love this Auburn team at home. Auburn has showed, some vulnerability on the road, but nothing to where you're going to lose a game. Alabama hasn't either. And this Alabama team, after that Mississippi State game, they have started shooting the ball with confidence, better. Mark Sears is not trying to do everything. I think the little incident that happened, whatever it was, is actually positive for Alabama. But as far as the other teams go, I mean, I think Missouri and Florida are really, really, really good. I think those are the third and fourth. Even after last night with the Tennessee win, I would still put Tennessee fifth in that category. That Missouri team impressed me physically immensely, guys, in that blowout in Starkville. But that after the second team, I think you got a Missouri, Florida. You might throw Tennessee in there. Kentucky is dropped. They can't guard people. Then you got your A&Ms, your Mississippi, Mississippi State kind of reeling, big game coming at Georgia. Yeah, I think you can safely say that those two teams have elevated themselves, but keep an eye on Florida, guys, because when they get Clayton Jr. back, Florida's got the best 3 guards in the league, and typically at the end of the year that shows up.
All right, they got a game Saturday in Auburn. We talked about it earlier. Number 6 Florida, number 1 Auburn. Saturday afternoon is. I mean, you got to say, hey, it's a watch-out game. I mean, it's a long season. It's hard to win them all, but is Florida maybe catching Auburn at a good time?
I mean, I don't know if you ever catch them at a good time at the Jungle, John. I mean, that place is just so difficult to do anything. And the energy that Auburn plays with there is, unlike anything really in the country. Florida's good enough. Florida's got shot makers, guards that can go get their basket that won't be hindered by a lot of the Auburn pressure. But Auburn turns people over at home. Auburn's vulnerable on the boards. I know that sounds crazy with those 2 bigs in there, but we've seen at times stretches to where teams dominated Auburn on the offensive glass. Florida will have to do that. Florida will have to make a lot of threes. That's hard to do against Auburn because they contest the 3 so well. Their attention to detail, closing out and then getting to shooters is better than anybody in the country. And the energy Auburn plays with, like some of the antics and stuff, you're starting to see it creep in. Didn't hurt them the other night. But I think Auburn will play a little bit, I don't know if you say wilder, because they're going into this narrative, guys. I mean, like you heard Stephen Pearl say yesterday on Next Round that their practices are like a circus. So it ain't changing. All the talking, all the antics, especially as long as they're winning. I expect Auburn to win this weekend and beat Florida. It would not shock me, though, if Florida hung around in this game for a long, long, long time and then had guards at the end go make plays to win. You got to beat Auburn at the end of the game, stay in it long enough, and then have your guards go beat their guards at the end of the game. Nobody's been able to do that in the league this year.
Was it not like the ultimate mic drop for your boy John Calipari to take Arkansas into Rupp on Saturday and come out of there with a 10-point win? How did that happen, Bart, on a basketball?
Barry, you're twisting that knife on me further than Mike Grace and Colin Lacey did, and I'm going to have to take it again tomorrow now that they went to Texas and won. You got to give credit. Kentucky is not very good defensively. And they're a below mediocre team defensively without Butler, their point guard. He's the head of the snake on that defense, brings the physicality, keeps the ball out of the lane. A lot of those penetrations wouldn't have happened if he'd have been in the game. With that being said, Cal took this head on, handled it perfectly, walked in and wasn't scared of it, and his team showed up. Think about this, guys. You had 3 players that played at Kentucky that all they've heard is how their coach is washed up. They're not relevant. Kentucky's going to these great heights and great places. That affects all Americans, man, when you come out of high school as the guy, the big recruited guy. And I just think Wagner had stepped his game up as a creator. He's not a point guard, but he got shots for his teammates, was able to finish when he needed to. And Thero's a pro. He's a first-round pick, and he's starting to see that. And we saw this 2 or 3 years ago with Muss, to where Arkansas had these downhill guards, 2 of them, that could just go score it. I think you zone Arkansas. I know people don't believe in that, but you got to take away their dribble drive penetration and ability to score at the basket. Big Z has played good minutes, but I'm going to tell you who the difference has been, especially defensively, is it Batiste? I think that's his name. The big number 2. Yeah, I can't remember. I always say his name wrong. But the 6'10 kid that hadn't really done a whole lot the first couple of years, he played great at at Kentucky. And I just really think that you're going to see Arkansas play better, guys. They've got momentum. And right now in this league, momentum is king. And now you're talking about a team who's won 2 in a row on the road. When that Bud Walton gets going, it'll be a completely different team when teams come in there. You know that, Barry.
Are you talking about Brazil for
Brazil?
Arkansas? Yeah,
Brazil, not Batiste. Brazil.
That guy has the look. I mean, sometimes he looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. I've always waited for the candle to get lit for that guy. Yeah.
Exactly. But like the other night, man, he was active. He was on the glass, stepped out and made a huge 3 in the corner.
Yeah.
That's something he hasn't done that he did in high school coming out. So, Arkansas, to me, is that team right now that's trending up. They're, as long as they keep winning, they're in the next 4 out. That's 2 spots out. This thing's going to get really interesting, and you're going to start seeing a lot of these games matter, like this weekend. Not saying Mississippi State's in danger for the tournament, still a 6th seed, but going to Georgia this weekend that's a big game when it comes down to bubble time, because I do think Georgia will possibly be on that bubble toward the end of the year.
All right, Bart. So we've been talking about teams that a lot of teams, but I said it earlier. To me, Duke and Auburn are the most complete. You don't see lapses. You don't see a lot of turnovers, a lot of self-inflicted mistakes, things of that nature. Very deep on their bench. When the bench comes in, they don't miss a beat. I've seen that in some other schools, particularly, I'll admit it, Alabama. I've said it many a times. I've seen some lapses, some just kind of sloppy play. Your thoughts about that? Are Duke and Auburn just head and shoulders above everybody else in college basketball at this point?
I don't know if they're head and shoulders. They might be Prel, one of those type of old shampoos, something like that.
Yeah.
You brought Prel.
Prel. We was talking about Prel the other day. Somebody brought up Prel. But I think Auburn and Duke have the two best college players on a team, if that makes sense. I think it's a 2-horse race between the player of the year right now, between Janai Broome and Cooper Flagg. Iowa State's got those injuries. That's a team that could be very difficult to deal with because of how they guard people. But yeah, I mean, those two teams to me really are ahead of everybody else. Now, but John, I know you're not going to like me saying this. Don't sell your Alabama boys out just yet, man. The turnovers.
I mean, I'm an eye test, Bart, and I mean, I know there are moments that they look, unstoppable, but it's just those lapses. I'm thinking, you can't turn it over. And I think if they start missing threes, they get a little discouraged and they get a little, maybe out of whack. And they got some time to clean that up, I guess, till March rolls around in the tournament. But I heard a lot of people saying what you're saying. Don't give up on them. They're still great, but I don't know. Got to see more. There's not really a team. I think everybody's kind of jumbled, but I do think that both of those, Auburn and Duke, are vulnerable. I mean, Yale beat Auburn last year, right? I mean, Auburn's better than they were last year. Yeah, I get it. I got it, man. But it's a lot of the same guys. Auburn does some different things. Kelly's a huge deal for Auburn, standing out there making shots. And Denver Johnson may be the most underrated. He and Baker Mazzara might be the most underrated two-way guards in the entire country on the same team. Those guys are problems with what they do defensively out on the perimeter. But, guys, I look at this top 25, and I see Florida sitting there at number 6. Florida gets in the right bracket as a number 2 or number 3 seed, catches an Iowa State, catches a Houston, someone like that who's not as talented as they've been. I'm not sold on Houston. I don't think Houston's guards are as good as they've been. But Tennessee is not the best, the number 4 best team in the country to me. I don't even see them as a number 1 seed. And they probably will slide into 2 or here or there. But, yeah, I mean, if you look at it, the Auburn-Duke gap between and I'm going to tell y'all 2 more teams to keep your eye on. And I know this is out of nowhere. Write them down.
Ready.
St. John's.
Ooh. Rick Pitino.
And Texas Tech.
What?
I thought you were going to say
Rick
TCU.
Pitino. TCU, I don't necessarily think has that purple moxie that they've had in the last few years.
They did last night against West Virginia, just saying.
Well, John, they also had Tucker DeVries out, who's West Virginia's coach's son, best player out for the year. He'll be back next year, but listen, the game of the weekend is in Storrs, Connecticut. St. John's and UConn. I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, it's UConn. Yes, they're starting to turn it around after that win at Marquette. Things are starting to happen a little bit for Danny. St. John's is good. And if St. John's were to go into UConn this weekend, not saying they do. I haven't seen them a ton. I'm going to watch them this weekend and really break them down. But there's a lot of people talking about Rick Pitino's team. And 19-3 in the Big East, Big East might be down. But Creighton and St. John's are the 2 teams in that Big East conference that I would also keep my eye on moving forward down the year. Creighton started off awful. They may be the second best team in that conference right now.
Will that be the first time that a Hurley and Patino have been in the same arena since Leitner hit that shot for Duke with Bobby Hurley in the background and Patino on the sidelines having to eat that?
I mean,
yeah.
I think this one might be a little bit more verbal, if you will, of a matchup than that one was. You might see some. There's got to be a lot of respect there, but I could see Danny really kind of showing out this weekend, especially if they get behind.
He's neurotic, Bart. I mean, that guy.
You can't turn your back on him, Barry Knight. He's the best coach in the country.
But he's nuts. He's crazy. He's a crazy man.
Love that.
I know you.
Hey, so that St. John, UConn, just so I'll be prepared, is that an early or late game so I'll know when that text is going to be coming from?
Yeah.
It's prime time on Fox, baby. I mean, it is Friday. Excuse me, it's Friday night. John, sorry, it's Friday night.
Friday night.
Even better. Awesome. Catch you a little. There's not a whole lot on Friday night, so that will be the premier game Friday, leading you into your Saturday.
St. John's is 20-3, kind of sneaking up on people. Bart, this is all good stuff. Safe travels the rest of the way. We appreciate you pulling on the side of the road in Jackson, Mississippi.
Where are you going to be this weekend?
Man, I'm in Jackson the next couple of days over here just milling around, taking it easy, if you will. And then I am headed back down south. You like my little pen right there?
I do. I've noticed it. You better believe it. Yeah.
And I'll be catching South Alabama. Huge game last night at Sunbelt, Barry, with Marshall taking down Arkansas State. Even though Troy loses, everybody's at a 4-way tie right now. And I feel really, really good about this finish for all these teams.
Yeah.
My phone is blowing up, Bart, about the Prell comment. The people are loving it.
Dude, y'all done forgot about Prell and Cookie Crisp back in the day, baby. That's two things that came up on the show. What are the two things that went away that were a part of your? And Prell came up, and then I went Cookie Crisp on them. So
Cookie Crisp. No kidding.
There you go. Shampoo and cereal on the show this morning from Hyche, boys.
He's about to put his seatbelt on. We always put our seatbelt on anytime we get you on the air, Bart.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
your time, man. Thanks very much.
Thank y'all, guys. But as you can see, I don't need any Prell anymore.
Oh, yeah. Whoa. Me much either. I
appreciate you, man.
Bart Hyche Hoops. Check it out. He joins us each and every week, brought to you by our good friends at Riverbank and Trust, locations throughout the River region, locations throughout the state of Alabama. Go by and see our friends at Riverbank and Trust. One show this summer, babe, we got to talk about products that are no longer around anymore.
Yeah.
Like Prell. I don't think I ever ate. Maybe I was a little older for Cookie Crisp. I mean, Count Chocula was big when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Captain Crunch, all those kind
Speaking
of
things. Do you ever remember Pearl Drops? They
Tooth
had
polish.
that girl that would she said with the great
she'd
feeling
lick
and
her
everything.
teeth.
When I'm 14 years old, I'm thinking, my gosh, I got to try me some Pearl Drops if that girl likes it.
Yeah. Remember there was also a shampoo, I believe it was called Flex. 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 From like Revlon or L'Oreal.
Yeah.
My sister used it, and it smelled really good. How about Herbal Essence shampoo? Remember Herbal Essence?
that one does not smell good. That one's just too much. But you were talking yesterday about something. You made an aside comment about it's not nice to fool Mother Nature or something like that. And I remember that. Was that Imperial Margarine? Imperial Margarine, where they told her, no, that's not butter. And she says, it's not nice to fool Mother Nature. And then you had lightning and rain come down and all that kind of stuff.
That was Imperial, which I don't think's a thing anymore.
No, it's from our youth. We got to take a break. As a matter of fact, we're probably a little bit late for a couple of breaks. We've been full of content.
When we get back, I believe our man Will Fisher from Capitol Hill is going to hop in with us for just a second.
That's a good reason to stay tuned to Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.
Joining us now is Marianne from Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry, and it is Valentine's. Marianne, tell us what's in store when Cupid arrives.
Definitely. Valentine's is now. It's amazing. This year is going by quickly already. But one thing you don't need to forget or let slip by you is the opportunity to show that special person you love exactly what you're thinking of them, that you're thinking about them. And we have lots of great options. For the first time ever, we're going to have price point cases to make it easy shopping for all the guys out there, ladies, anyone. So we're going to have a case for $199, $299, $399. We have lots of great specials, lots of things. If you come in, we even have time for some special customized designs, because at Marguerite's we really do make it. So again, don't be last minute. Don't forget about it. This is your cue. All the hearts in the background. Valentine's Day is here, and you want to stop at Marguerite's, because we'll wrap it up and help you find that perfect gift.
Glad you mentioned the beautiful gift wrap. Just another example of what sets Marguerite's apart from everyone else. And whether it's a ring, a bracelet, a necklace, any jewelry item, and as Marianne mentioned, they have them in different cases at different price points. Or if you have something special in mind, they can certainly handle that as well. Marguerite's is a full-service jeweler. They do it all, from sales to repairs to special orders. And you're located there at 8163 Vaughn Road in Pepper Tree. And Marianne, you're open 7 days a week, so that's very convenient for our viewers and listeners.
Exactly. We're open 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. We're open from 10 to 5:30 on Monday through Friday, 10 to 5 on Saturday, and noon to 5 on Sunday. So the hardest thing you have to do is open the door, and we'll take it from there.
That's right. Hey, let's have a great Valentine's, folks, and it all starts at Marguerite's Exquisite Jewelry. Marianne, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hey, all right, back at it here, about 10 minutes to the top of the hour. Man, Barry, we have been just jam-packed today. Always appreciate our guests, Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, Rodney Orr, the TiderInsider, and our basketball insider, Bart Hyche from Jackson, Mississippi this morning.
We have got, we go from a guest in Jackson, Mississippi to our guy in Prattville, Alabama. Will Fisher is the director of golf at the RTJ Trail site, Capitol Hill in Prattville, and he joins us. Hopefully, Will, good morning. You got us?
Yeah,
I saw
we're
him
trying
down
to get
at
him.
the bottom.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're going to get him reconnected here in just a minute. Will, of course, from over at Capitol Hill. You know, the weather just getting a little warmer, and certainly people excited about getting out there on the golf course. There's Will right there. You know, what do you do? I mean, a Tennessee guy having a hard time.
Golf pros don't know technology. Golf pros don't know technology. You would think in this day and age that with all the Zoom meetings and stuff that we have to do, that I would be able to log into such a fantastic show without any problems. But yeah, here we are.
But don't sell yourself short. Speaking of technology and golf pros, Will, I got to imagine that new TaylorMade Performance Center over at Capitol Hill. I imagine the response to that has got to have been just overwhelming, right?
Yeah, we've had some really, really good days with that. And with the new QI 35 coming out, and it has done really, really well in the market so far. We've had some tremendous sell-through for that so far. We're currently working with TaylorMade and doing an additional this longshore like this. We're doing an additional 50% off towards your trade-in value right now between now and Valentine's Day. And so while John may go to Marguerite's for his Valentine can come to us, and we could get him a driver, bring his old driver. We'll get him a new driver, and he can continue to play with his old driver until the new one comes in. But that way we know what we're trading in, and then we get an additional 50% toward the trade-in value of that driver.
What a deal, man. You can't beat that. And I'm glad Barry asked you about that, because, you know, this day and age, Will, it is so important. If you're going to make the investment for golf equipment, you need to make sure it fits you. It is customized to your swing, you know, your height, how you play, and going to the training center that you have there at Capitol Hill, it solves a lot of those problems that people encounter because they didn't take the time to just kind of hone it in and get it specified to your exact needs.
Yeah, I totally agree, John. I mean, everybody swings the club a little different. Everybody releases it a little different. And all of that can be measured by the tools that we have here. And so what that really amounts to is us making sure that we have the right club to get you the right launch angle, to get the most carry out of the club. And I'm not just talking drivers. We're talking irons too, to get the, maximize your spin, but not have too much And so all of that does change based on how you swing the club, how your tempo is, so forth. So all of that can be measured by the tools that we have here. And it does make us a really neat place to come and get fit. And not to talk negatively about going to a facility indoors, because there's plenty of them and they're really, really good at what they do too. But you as the customer want to be able to see the ball fly. I do. I want to see what it looks like in the air. And I want to be able to tell when the guy that's fitting me says, hey, that's a really good swing. That's what we're looking for. I can remember what that ball flight looks like and try to, duplicate it and mimic it out on the golf course.
How is the golf course looking and playing with some of the warm weather we've had so far?
Yeah, I would imagine that this weather is not ideal for Mr. Wingo and his team down in maintenance, because things start to want to grow and bud. And, we've got I think we've got at least one more cold snap still to go. We typically do. But golf courses really are in good shape. Greens are in really good shape. And, the big thing that we're doing now, and I know I talked about this several shows ago with you guys, but we're doing a full renovation on the Legislator golf course. So we are completely redesigning, blowing up, I guess is the way you could call it, 4 different greens on that golf course, all new bunkers, adding some tees, going to take the other 14 greens back to the original depth and width. So we'll be adding, so in a lot of greens, somewhere 8 to 10 feet around the edges of those greens. And all of that's just not because we've had any issues, but just because, the grass over years, it ages and have encroachment on the greens and whatnot. And so we're doing that just to make sure that we offer some of the best products year in and year out, day in and day out here in the River region.
Man, that's exciting, Will. I mean, it's a great course. The Legislature, they're all great. And I certainly enjoy playing the Legislature. Looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like when that renovation is complete. That sounds like a lot of fun. You hit on something about your training center, and it clicked. This thing that Tiger Woods is doing on ESPN, this indoor business, Barry and I have talked a little bit about it. What are your thoughts? I mean, I watched about 15 minutes of it and I was done. It just didn't interest me. What do you think? What's the future of that?
Well, I think my guys my age and even younger really like it. I tell you I think it's a really good idea. The one component that they are really missing, and oddly enough, driving into work this morning, a couple of the sports shows on Sirius were talking about it. And I think the one thing that it really misses, and John, from playing in money games out on the golf courses, you got to have a little ribbing back and forth between the guys. And that's really what we want to hear, right? We want to hear them give Rory, when he's getting ready to hit a 3-wood that's got to carry 295 with a cut. We want to hear them get into his head a little bit and see if they can mess with him. And I think that's the one thing that it's really, really missing. Mike Beverly and I have talked about this a couple of times, and Mike's actually got a pretty good point that, almost like David Faraday ought to be the guy that's out there calling the game and talking to these guys as they are approaching those pods of turf before they hit the shots, just to give them just a little bit of a ribbing to make it a little more fun. I think if you did that, I think that it would be really, really fun to watch and really, really cool to watch. I will tell you the other thing that it would be nice in that ribbing back and forth would be they've got the hammer or whatever. Now, I don't know maybe that's something they play on the tour, and I have no idea. But John, you and I know that in our local games, we call it a press, automatic down or whatever, or automatic 1 down. And I want to hear them talk about the press. I want to hear them coming into the.
John's in for that now.
The gambling aspect, the gamesmanship aspect. I am the needling.
Right. Could you imagine what this would be like if you had Trevino and Palmer doing this years ago? Oh my God,
man, it would have just been too good. Yeah, I'm with you. We'll tell our viewers, tell our listeners, how do they get tee times? How do they get more information about your training facility? I know your pro shop's got all the PGA show, happened recently. You got the new merchandise coming in as well. So you got a lot going on. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, they absolutely give us a call at 285-1114. That calls right here into the golf shop. If you want to go to look at tee times, you can do that on the web at rtjgolf.com/Capitol Hill, see what we have available. I will say, tee times are going to be precious to be paying attention to get those as early as possible with one course less this year, at least for the bulk of the year. You'll be able to, want to try to grab those as quickly as possible. But we'd love for you to come out and play and see us. And if you are interested in the new equipment, it doesn't just have to be tailor-made. It can be anything. Come see us. We can get you fit.
Outstanding. Always good to see you, Will. Appreciate you.
Absolutely, Barry. You guys have a great day.
You too, buddy. Great stuff from Will Fisher. Always enjoy visiting with him about a variety of golf subjects. We couldn't get to the Will today, Chris. We're going to try to hold it over to tomorrow. We got a lot going on tomorrow. Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, brought to you by Jim Massey Laundry and Cleaners. I do understand, Barry, the Phantom will be on with a more detailed selection tomorrow, as he normally does on Fridays. Not his pick of the day, which today is the Sacramento Kings catching 1.5 at Portland tonight at 9:00 in the NBA. Also, we'll have Ralph Michaels from Wager Talk and the Gold Sheet. I will be at Stivers Ford, and you will be in Oxford,
Ohio. Yes, tomorrow. Ready for Troy men's basketball on Saturday at noon against Miami of Ohio. For Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, Rodney Orr, TiderInsider, Bart Hyche. He's John Longshore. I'm Barry McKnight. In association with Yellowhammer News, it's Longshore and McKnight, presented by Bud Light.